Hey guys, subscribe for daily content. And if you're shopping for gear, make sure you check out the description for the newest items at some of the very best online retailers. There's also links for some of the items that I personally recommend. Thanks!
What's going on, YouTube? Metal Complex here, and today we've got another Spyderco knife. I know, I feel like if you've been watching my content lately, you guys probably feel spoiled if you like Spyderco knives because we went so long without taking a look at any of them, and now three pretty much back to back, thanks to River's Edge Cutlery, who supplied me with three awesome Spyderco knives that I had not gotten a chance to take a look at yet. You guys will all be happy to know, I didn't mention this in the other videos, but these will all be given away. So I'm not keeping these. I'm actually going to review them and share my thoughts with you guys, and then I'm going to give them all away in a live stream down the road a bit. But thank you so much to River's Edge Cutlery for doing that. I feel like that really works out for everybody. I will link River's Edge Cutlery down in the description, as well as this knife in particular and other Spyderco knives, so you guys can take a look if you want. It does help my channel when you use those links, but that's up to you. Thanks to my patrons for supporting me. What Spyderco knife could you possibly have not taken a look at yet? Well, actually, there's quite a few Spyderco knives that I've never looked at, but I have looked at the majority of what I have truly wanted to take a look at outside of this and a few other models. But what we have here, finally, I know I'm super late to the game. This is a Military 2, which most of you know what the deal is with the Military 2. This is something that Spyderco should have done 10 years ago at least. This is a huge knife, but it now has the compression lock instead of the back lock. Actually, that does immediately make this entire knife substantially more approachable. My issue with the Military was, I know these, if you're not familiar with Spyderco knives, you're like, oh my gosh, these come tip down standard. Yeah, they do. A lot of them do. But you can just flip it, right? This is one of those truly like accommodating for anybody types of knives, right? Tip up, tip down, right or left-handed carry. But my issue with the Military was always, number one, it's just too big. I like to carry a big knife periodically for EDC. A lot of you guys know my wife got me a Shoggoth F111 for our most recent anniversary, and it's about the same overall length as this guy, just off the top of my head. And it's compact enough to where it's fairly easy to carry, as would be this guy. It just would be a little bigger than your PM2. In fact, I've got a PM2 and a Para 3 right here. This is kind of the eldest brother of the three, especially now that it's got you know, the compression lock in there. But it's huge. I mean, really big. If you ever EDC'd the PM2 and you're like, this is too big for me, the Military is going to be way too big for you. But as somebody who's, you know, carried both the PM2 and the Para 3 extensively, I don't think this would be that bad. I can understand as far as like really big knives go, right? I mean, compared to your average like XL cold steel, this is going to be substantially easier to carry. But right away, the fact that it is a compression lock now instead of the back lock or spine lock, that makes this so much easier and so much more approachable for somebody like me who vastly prefers the convenience, and I don't know if the reliability is better or worse. I prefer the convenience of the compression lock. I think the compression lock is superior to your classic back lock in almost every way. I'm sure that there are circumstances where you could consider the spine lock stronger. I guess, I don't know. I don't know what you'd have to be doing with the knife in order to determine that. But I think in most situations, the compression lock is going to be, you know, a better choice in terms of manipulation, at least. So, yeah, right away, I do like this substantially more. I reviewed the Military a long time ago, and I'm pretty sure that was my conclusion was, yeah, it's fine. I don't like the locking system, and it's just huge, right? So how big exactly is this knife? Overall length. Oh, wait, what's the steel on this guy? Are they still going S30V? They are. I was kind of hoping to see that they would go S45VN, but now that I think about it, I remember them, you know, not doing that. Well, we call it an upgrade. They haven't made that change for these larger ones yet. 9.5 inches. I'm actually kind of shocked it's not more. I thought it'd be closer to 10. 9.5. Blade length is over 4. I would say about 4. Yeah. Should we call that 4 1/4? No, we can't quite call it 4 1/4. It's like 4 1/8. And then your cutting edge is about 3.8. Yeah, for sure. A lot of cutting edge, right? On the topic of S30V, a lot of people get super... I made a video about this, right? Now, I know that there are plenty of you who really do understand, far, far better than I do about blade steel composition and why there are benefits to some newer compositions over compositions like S30V. And if your argument stems from that, then I think that it's, there's a foundation for argument there for sure. A lot of people who are saying, why S30V? Why they no upgrade? Raw. I get it in terms of you just want something newer, and S30V is older. The problem with this is that it sort of projects this idea to new people who don't know better that S30V bad because old and new steel always better, right? That's wrong. S30V is still, to this day, one of the very best compositions for folding knives, period. But how? How could that be? It's old, and newer steels are always better, right? No. You have the multi-directional teeter-totter that is blade steel composition. We have to remember S30V is one of very few steels that were actually designed for pocket knives, right? Just because we have steels that might claim superior edge retention versus S30V does not mean that they are completely and totally superior in any circumstance, right? Because those steels oftentimes were created for industrial equipment or some sort of very specific environment that is totally different than what you would normally, like a human being would use a small, simple folding bladed tool, right? So S30V has absolutely incredible balance in terms of toughness, corrosion resistance, edge retention. S30V actually has really good edge retention. A lot of people don't realize that S30V has a really good edge retention, especially when you consider the balance of all things. On top of that, Spyderco has excellent geometry, which plays a massive role in terms of how any blade will perform. And on top of that, Spyderco is heat treating their blades properly. So S30V from Spyderco will outperform the vast majority of industry standard M390 on your average blade out there right now. I know that sounds like a huge, bold claim, but what I'm saying is absolutely true. If you put a good, the PM2 style blade or the Spyderco Leaf blade or, something like the Manix 2 with Spyderco's S30V and their heat treatment, right? And the task was cut as many cuts of cardboard as you can before it goes dull. I bet you anything, the Spyderco knives will outperform, whoever that popped up out of the ground, right, this last season. And they're like, our new Jackhawk 9000 and M390 hardened to 59 HRC. It's going to have worse cutting geometry. It's not going to cut as long, right? It's just is M390. M390 has the potential to cut longer, right? Again, we're isolating edge retention here, just so I can make a point in that department. Not that that's the only thing that's important. There's lots of other elements. S30V is definitely, tougher, and it's also easier to sharpen. But anyways, in that case, they're just selling you the M390. And if your concern is specifically edge retention, as is usually the case with people who are kind of setting foot into this world for the first time or very recently, if you put edge retention way up on that pedestal, ironically, these companies are not selling you performance in many cases. They're selling you M390 and the popularity and the mystique and the aura around it, which is now becoming old. It's not even really. So my point is that for all those people screaming that Spyderco should be upgrading from S30V and they're cheaping, they're cheaping out on us, guys. They're keeping the S30V because it's less expensive, and then they're marking their prices. They're making a killing off us. S30V is actually really expensive steel. It's also more expensive to make sure that the blades are ground correctly and heat treated properly, right? Versus other companies just kind of, M390, 59, whatever. In this case, made in USA. I'm not saying that I'm trying to justify in total the price, right? Do I think that Spyderco USA knives are overpriced? Yeah, I think so, right? But if your argument boils down to S30V old, new steel better, I want M390, ironically, which is based on a composition that was patented in 1999. But if that's your argument, that makes there's nothing there. I feel like a lot of people saying it have no idea what they're talking about, right? So if you can choke down the price tag, just understand Spyderco's S30V is really special. It's really special stuff. Do I wish that they would offer a new baseline steel. I think S45VN is a good newer baseline steel because it's essentially the same thing as S30V with added corrosion resistance. I think there's a little bit of an argument to be made in terms of a trade-off in edge retention, but from what I understand, S45VN is extremely similar with a benefit to added corrosion resistance, right? But does that mean that we can wave off S30V as a steel of the past and it has no place in today's knife world? No, absolutely not. You guys have got to stop repeating that's not true, right? Again, a lot of this is you should use it and experience it. I love using Spyderco knives. Their S30V is excellent. Their cutting geometry is great, right? So, on one hand, I think it's a fair argument to say it would be nice to see them, upgrade everything, all of their S30V stuff, again, upgrade. A lot of people would say it's not really an upgrade. They're just selling you a couple of different numbers and an excuse to mark it up again, which is there's fairness in that argument as well, right? Because S45EN is also expensive stuff. But if the foundation of the argument is what I laid out there, I'm not trying to be mean. I'm just trying to say your argument is a nothing burger. There's nothing there. You don't know what you're arguing. You're just saying things that you've heard, right? And it doesn't make any sense. So the S30V is fine. I know what the price tags are on these. It's really expensive. This is a lot more impressive than I thought it was going to be. Still just as big, but much, much more wieldy and much more friendly. Yeah, definitely, I guess, almost what I expected, slightly better. We'll see. I am going to carry and use this just to kind of get an updated perspective, and then I'll talk about it with you guys. We'll talk about the price tag in the final review. But that's going to be it today. Please make sure to follow me on Instagram at metal_complex. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like. If you'd like to check out my other content, I do, of course, have lots of videos of knives that are either expensive or inexpensive that I do or don't like, so check those out. And if you enjoy all my content, go ahead and click on that Metal Complex logo right there and subscribe because there's definitely more coming. Thanks again for watching, everybody, and have a great day.